The Zextal Defense Network's primary scanning station Epsilon buzzed with its usual activity. Technicians monitoring vast sectors of space, analyzing data streams, and cataloging the countless vessels that passed through their territory. Senior Technician Vexera absently flicked through routine scans until an anomalous reading caught their attention. "Command, I'm detecting an unregistered vessel in Sector 7. Vexera reported, their four-fingered hands dancing across the holographic interface. "Energy signature doesn't match anything in our database." Station Commander Zixtel glided across the monitoring chamber, their ceremonial rank crystals catching the blue light of the display screens. "Show me." The main display illuminated with a visual representation of the contact. The vessel was unlike anything in their records, angular, utilitarian, and radiating what their sensors classified as inefficient energy patterns. Its hull bore marking in an archaic language that took their systems several moments to translate. U.S. Horizon. The entire command center fell silent as the registration details appeared on screen. Zixtel's outer membrane paled to a sickly shade of green. "Verified at reading," they ordered, their voice trembling slightly. "Confirmed, Commander. The vessel is of human origin." The words hit the command center like a plasma burst. Junior technicians abandoned their posts, crowding around the main display. The humans were supposed to be contained within their own sector, bound by treaties and buffer zones. Yet here one was, their vessel sliding through space like a predator through dark waters. Admiral Jessica Brooks stood on the bridge of the U.S. Horizon, her weathered features illuminated by the soft glow of tactical displays. She knew the Zextal had detected them. That was part of the plan. The Horizon's outdated systems were broadcasting exactly what she wanted them to see. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of 20 years in deep space. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, their sensor specialist, responded without looking up from her station. "They got a lock on us, Admiral. Their scanning patterns suggest they're trying to penetrate our outer hull." Brooks allowed herself a small smile. The Horizon's hull was deliberately designed to appear primitive to advanced scanning systems. Let them see the steel and titanium alloys. Let them think they were dealing with an obsolete warship. The vessel's true capabilities lay in systems that didn't even register on conventional scans. "Time to contact," Brooks asked, adjusting her uniform's collar. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, each member knowing their role in the carefully choreographed operation. 30 minutes until we crossed their defensive perimeter," Commander James Chen reported from Tactical. "Their response fleet is mobilizing exactly as predicted." The Admiral nodded, studying the tactical display. The Zextal were deploying their ships in a standard containment pattern, exactly what the intelligence briefings had suggested they would do. The last time they had encountered a human vessel, it had been the U.S. Challenger, which had turned their most advanced battlecruiser into educational material for naval academies back on Earth. "Send the coded burst to command," Brooks ordered. "Let them know Phase 1 is proceeding as planned." She turned to her executive officer, Commander David Peterson. "Status of our special cargo." Peterson consulted his tablet. "Dr. Reynolds reports all systems are stable. The containment field is holding at optimal levels." In the secure laboratory 6 decks below, Dr. Catherine Reynolds monitored readings that would redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. The Horizon wasn't just carrying cargo, it was carrying humanity's future, carefully disguised as a threat. Back in the Zextal Command Center, panic was setting in. Historical records of human encounters scrolled across multiple screens. The footage showed human vessels using supposedly primitive technology in ways that defied conventional military doctrine. A cargo hauler's magnetic clamps transformed into weapons. Mining lasers reconfigured into defense systems. The humans had a disturbing talent for turning seemingly harmless technology into devastating weapons. "We must notify High Command immediately," Commander Zixtel declared, their voice steady despite their growing fear. "This is no routine incursion. The humans never send just one ship without a reason." As alerts echoed through the sector and battle stations were manned, Admiral Brooks watched the Zextal fleet's approach on her tactical display. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Sometimes, she mused, the best way to deliver peace was to wrap it in the threat of war. All hands, she announced shipwide. This is the Admiral. Stand by for Phase 2. Lieutenant Commander Michael Nash's fingers traced patterns in the holographic display, his eyes narrowing as he studied the U.S. Horizon's approach vector. After 5 years embedded within the Zextal Strategic Command as part of the Cultural Exchange Program, he had earned their trust, and more importantly, access to their classified archives. "You're seeing something, aren't you?" Senior Analyst Kexley asked, her translucent fingers adjusting the neural interface connecting her to the command center systems. "That look on your face. It's the same one you had during the Proxima incident." Nash nodded slowly, manipulating the tactical display to show the Horizon's course over the past 6 hours. It's not following any known human assault pattern. The approach is too deliberate. He highlighted several points where the vessel had made minor course corrections. "See these adjustments? They're compensating for gravitational distortions that aren't even in our standard charts." Kexley's outer membrane rippled with concern. "How would they know about gravitational anomalies we haven't mapped?" "That's what worries me." Nash pulled up the classified footage from the Kronos incident, the battle that had earned humans their fearsome reputation. The grainy holographic replay showed a human vessel, the U.S. Challenger, facing off against the Zextal's prized battlecruiser, the Eternal Victory. "Everyone focuses on how they turned their cargo bay into a weapon," Nash explained, freezing the footage at a crucial moment. "But look here, before the battle, they made the exact same course corrections we're seeing now." In her command chair aboard the Horizon, Admiral Brooks reviewed the latest sensor data from their quantum arrays. The Zextal thought they were being subtle with their surveillance, but their scan patterns might as well have been fireworks against the void. "Dr. Reynolds," she called over the secure channel, "are they taking the bait?" The scientist's voice came back crisp and clear. "Their scans are exactly where we want them, Admiral. They're so focused on our primitive reactor signature that they haven't noticed the quantum fluctuations." Lieutenant Commander Nash's intelligence was spot on. Brooks allowed herself a moment of pride. Nash had spent years laying the groundwork for this mission, feeding the Zextal carefully selected information about human capabilities. His presence in their command center was no accident. Back in the Zextal facility, Nash accessed deeper levels of the historical database, using clearance codes that had taken years to obtain. The data confirmed his suspicions. Humans had been quietly mapping this sector long before first contact, using automated probes disguised as space debris. "High Command won't like this," Kexley warned, watching him compile the evidence. "They'll say you're paranoid, seeing patterns that don't exist." "Pattern recognition is what kept humanity alive during our darkest hours," Nash replied, bringing up another tactical display. "The Horizon isn't just a warship. Look at these energy dispersal patterns. They're similar to our terraforming platforms, but the efficiency ratings are impossible." Kexley's neural interface pulsed with increased data flow as she processed the implications. "You think their weapon systems are just a cover?" Before Nash could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. The Horizon had adjusted its course again, this time setting up an approach vector that would take it directly through the heart of the Zextal defense grid. "All command staff report to battle stations," the facility's AI announced. Unknown human vessel displaying aggressive positioning. Nash watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Horizon's maneuvers weren't aggressive. They were defensive, designed to provide maximum coverage for something in their cargo hold, something that registered on Zextal sensors as a quantum anomaly. "They're not here for a fight," he muttered, downloading crucial data to his secure terminal. "They're delivering something. Something they want us to find." As if in response to his revelation, the Horizon's energy signature suddenly shifted, its reactor output climbing in a distinctive pattern. Nash had seen that pattern before, in classified files even the Zextal didn't know he could access. The pieces clicked into place. This wasn't just a delivery. It was first contact all over again. But this time, humanity was offering something instead of demanding it. The question was, would the Zextal realize it before their trigger-happy fleet turned a peaceful mission into another legend of human military prowess? The massive dreadnought Star Vanquisher emerged from its defensive position around the Zextal homeworld, its crystalline hull absorbing and refracting nearby starlight. Behind it, 5 heavy cruisers moved into attack formation, their weapon systems humming with enough power to reduce a small moon to atoms. Fleet Commander Rixtal stood on the command deck, their bioluminescent command markings pulsing with anticipation. Status of the human vessel. Maintaining its course, Commander, the tactical officer reported. Their weapon systems remain powered, but shields are at minimal strength. They're either incredibly confident or incredibly foolish. Aboard the U.S. Horizon, Admiral Brooks watched the Zextal battle group's approach with calculated calm. The massive ships looked impressive, their crystalline structures gleaming against the void. But appearances, she knew, could be deceiving. "All hands, this is the Admiral," she announced shipwide. "Initiate Protocol Omega. Dr. Reynolds, prepare the package." Commander Peterson approached her chair, speaking in low tones. "Ma'am, Lieutenant Commander Nash's latest transmission just arrived. The Zextal are operating exactly according to their standard doctrine. Their fleet positioning leaves them vulnerable to our supposed inferior weapons," Brooks finished, a slight smile playing across her features. "That's what they're expecting. Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies." The tension on both ships ratcheted higher as the distance between them decreased. The Zextal battle group's sensors probed the horizon relentlessly, trying to penetrate its seemingly primitive hull. "Commander," the Zextal science officer called out, their voice trembling. "We're detecting an energy surge from the human vessel, but it's not weapons-grade plasma. The signature is unlike anything in our database." In the Strategic Command Center, Nash watched the confrontation unfold with growing anxiety. He knew what was coming, but the next few moments would determine whether this became a diplomatic breakthrough or another chapter in the history of human Zextal warfare. "They're powering up something in their cargo hold," Kexley reported, her neural interface streaming data faster than most Zextal could process. "The energy pattern. It's similar to our world engine technology, but the efficiency ratings are impossible." The U.S. Horizon's next move shocked everyone. Instead of raising shields or charging weapons, it broadcast an open message on all frequencies. "Zextal Command, this is Admiral Jessica Brooks of the United Earth Federation. We request immediate boarding rights. Our weapons are powered down, and we surrender our vessel for inspection." The Zextal command crew froze in disbelief. Fleet Commander Rixtal's bioluminescence flickered with confusion. "Scan for deception," they ordered. "This must be a trap." But Nash saw the truth. The energy signature from the Horizon's cargo hold wasn't a weapon charging up. It was something trying to stabilize itself, something that could rewrite the future of both species. "The human ship's reactor output is increasing," the Zextal tactical officer announced, their voice rising in pitch. "But their weapons remain inactive. This defies all known human combat protocols." Admiral Brooks stood from her command chair, straightening her uniform. "Commander Peterson, initiate final approach. Dr. Reynolds, show them what we brought." In the secure laboratory, Dr. Reynolds activated the quantum containment field. The device they'd spent years developing hummed to life, its energy signature purposefully visible to Zextal sensors. It wasn't a weapon. It was something far more powerful. "By the first light," Kexley whispered, watching the energy patterns emerge on her display. "They've mastered quantum harmonics at a level we thought impossible. This isn't an attack force. It's a technological revolution wrapped in a warship's shell," Nash finished, already composing an urgent message to both his commands. "The question is, will your people see it before someone starts shooting?" The Horizon's energy signature continued to build, not in the chaotic pattern of a weapon preparing to fire, but in the precise, controlled rhythm of something far more sophisticated. As the massive Zextal dreadnought loomed before them, Admiral Brooks gave her final order of Phase 3. Open the cargo bay doors. Let's show them what humanity really came here to do. The cargo bay doors of the U.S. Horizon opened with deliberate slowness, revealing a sight that left the Zextal observers speechless. Inside, suspended within a complex array of quantum containment fields, floated what appeared to be a miniature solar system, planets orbiting a carefully controlled fusion reaction. By the eternal stars, Fleet Commander Rixtal whispered, their bioluminescent patterns flickering with disbelief. What manner of weapon is this? Admiral Brooks's voice came through clear on all channels. Not a weapon, Commander. This is Project Genesis, a revolutionary terraforming system that can restore dead worlds to habitability in months instead of centuries. In the Strategic Command Center, Nash felt a wave of relief wash over him. Months of careful planning, years of embedding himself within the Zextal hierarchy, all leading to this moment. He turned to Kexley, whose neural interface was practically overloading with the incoming data. The energy patterns, she muttered, her outer membrane shifting colors rapidly. They're not just similar to our world engine technology. They're what we've been trying to achieve for decades. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared through both ships. A rogue Zextal destroyer, the Vengeance Eternal, had broken formation and was charging its main weapon array. This is Commander Vixtal of the Vengeance Eternal, a harsh voice broadcast across all frequencies. The humans cannot be trusted. Their technology must be destroyed before. The destroyer's plasma lance erupted, sending a searing beam of energy toward the Horizon's exposed cargo bay. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. Admiral Brooks didn't even rise from her chair. Dr. Reynolds, if you would. In the secure laboratory, Dr. Catherine Reynolds' fingers danced across her control panel. The miniature solar system in the cargo bay pulsed once, and the incoming plasma beam curved. It twisted in space like a living thing, forming a perfect shield around the Horizon's hull. Impossible. Commander Vixtal screamed. No human technology cold. The plasma is being redirected by localized gravitational fields, Nash explained to the stunned Zextal command staff. The same technology that can reshape planets can also reshape space itself. The Horizon isn't just carrying terraforming equipment. It's a prototype for an entirely new class of vessels. Fleet Commander Rixtal watched in amazement as their most powerful weapon was transformed into a defensive barrier by technology their sensors still insisted was primitive. Stand down, Vengeance Eternal. That's a direct order. But the rogue destroyer was already charging for another shot. This time, Dr. Reynolds didn't wait for them to fire. The Genesis device pulsed again, and suddenly the Vengeance Eternal's engine core began to stabilize, fixing a critical fault that would have caused a catastrophic overload in minutes. Their reactor was heading for a cascade failure, Reynolds reported calmly. I took the liberty of preventing the loss of 400 Zextal lives. Perhaps now we can discuss this like rational beings. In the Strategic Command Center, Kexley's neural interface was streaming data faster than ever. The human ship, it's not just advancing our terraforming technology. Look at these readings. They found a way to manipulate fundamental forces on a scale we thought impossible. Nash nodded, already composing his report to both Earth Command and the Zextal High Council. That's why it had to be a warship. Pirates and raiders would see an obvious research vessel as an easy target, but no one in their right mind attacks a human warship, not after the Kronos incident. Admiral Brooks stood at last, her voice carrying authority that transcended species. Fleet Commander Rixtal, I propose an immediate joint inspection of our vessel. Let us show you exactly what humanity has achieved, and more importantly, what we can achieve together. The quantum containment field in the cargo bay shimmered, projecting an image of a dead world transformed into a garden paradise. It wasn't just a demonstration. It was a promise. A future where human ingenuity and sextile technology could reshape the galaxy itself. Fleet Commander Rickstall's answer would change history. Admiral Brooks, I believe we have much to discuss. General Cax stood before the members of the Zextal Military Council, his crystalline rank insignias gleaming under the chamber's harsh light. The humans have played us for fools, he declared, bringing up a holographic display of the U.S. horizon. This peaceful demonstration is nothing but a carefully orchestrated deception. In the adjoining chamber, Lieutenant Commander Nash pressed his ear against the crystalline wall, its transparent properties allowing him to both see and hear the proceedings. Beside him, Kexley's neural interface silently recorded everything. The timing is too perfect, General Cax continued, his outer membrane darkening with anger. They arrive with this miraculous technology just as our outer colonies face environmental collapse. They must have been watching us, studying our weaknesses. Nash's communicator vibrated silently, a message from Admiral Brooks. Phase 4 compromised. Prepare for contingency. Aboard the Horizon, Dr. Reynolds worked frantically to secure the Genesis device's control systems. Admiral, I'm detecting quantum signature matches across multiple frequencies. They're trying to scan the device's core programming. Brooks nodded grimly. They're not just scanning it. Lieutenant Rodriguez, report. Multiple small craft approaching from the planet's dark side, Rodriguez announced, her hands flying over the tactical display. Stealth systems engage, but our quantum arrays can detect their phase shift signatures. General Cax's personal strike team, Commander Peterson added, known for their aggressive acquisition of foreign technology. Brooks allowed herself a small smile, just as Nash predicted. Commander, initiate Protocol Delta. Let's show them why simple technology can be the most effective. The strike team's phase-shifted vessels approached the Horizon's hull, their advanced systems allowing them to pass through energy shields as if they weren't there. But when they tried to phase through the physical hull, they hit something unexpected. Solid metal. Impossible. The strike team leader's voice crackled over their secure channel. Our phase shift technology should work perfectly against energy barriers and modern composite hulls. Chief Engineer Martinez's voice cut in on their frequency. But good old-fashioned titanium alloy. That's a different story. Welcome to the U.S. Horizon's outer hull, deliberately designed to counter your most advanced technology. In the council chamber, General Cax received the news of his team's failure with growing rage. Launch the automated defense platforms. We cannot allow what, General? Nash stepped into the chamber, Kexley beside him. Allow the possibility of peace, the chance to save your dying colonies. Traitor. Cax spun toward him, drawing his ceremonial energy blade. You pretend to serve us while working for them all along. I serve both our peoples, Nash replied calmly, pulling out a small device. Just like this technology serves both our needs, Kexley. Now. The neural interface specialist transmitted a massive data packet through the chamber's network. On every screen, evidence appeared. Records of General Cax's secret weapons programs, failed attempts to replicate human technology, and the true extent of the colonial environmental crisis he'd been hiding from the Council. Aboard the Horizon, Brooks watched the drama unfold through Nash's hidden cameras. Dr. Reynolds, they'll be coming for the Genesis device in force now. Initiate the demonstration. The device in the cargo bay hummed to life, its miniature solar system beginning to pulse with energy. But instead of attacking, it projected a holographic display visible to every ship in the sector. A real-time demonstration of dead worlds being restored to life. Look at your long-range scans, Nash told the Council. That's not a simulation. The Horizon is actively terraforming one of your abandoned moons right now. This is what cooperation looks like. General Cax lunged forward, his energy blade slicing through the air, only to pass through Nash's hologram. The real Nash stood behind him, along with a full squad of Council security forces. Your phase shift technology isn't the only thing we've learned to counter, Nash said quietly. The question is, have you learned to look past your fears? As General Cax was led away in restraints, Admiral Brooks's voice echoed through the chamber. Now shall we discuss the real reason we came to your sector? Chief Engineer Jack Martinez stood in the Horizon's main engineering bay, surrounded by captured Zextal strike team members and curious Zextal engineers who had been invited aboard. Their multifaceted eyes widened as he dismantled what they had dismissed as a primitive power coupling. You see this? He held up the seemingly simple device. Standard issue power regulation system. Except it's not just that. Every component on this ship serves at least 3 purposes. He twisted the coupling, and it transformed into a quantum field generator. Another twist revealed a backup life support processor. The Zextal Chief Science Officer, Mixtel, leaned forward, their crystalline sensory appendages vibrating with interest. But our scan showed only basic power distribution functions. Martinez grinned. Exactly. Your advanced scanning technology looks for complex systems, quantum signatures, elaborate engineering. We built our ship to be invisible by being simple, or at least appearing simple. Meanwhile, in the Horizon's cargo bay, Dr. Reynolds was conducting a different kind of demonstration for Admiral Brooks and the Zextal High Command representatives. The Genesis device's miniature solar system had expanded, showing the intricate process of planetary transformation. The brilliance isn't in the complexity, Reynolds explained, manipulating the holographic controls. It's in the elegance of the solution. Your terraforming technology tries to force changes through brute force. Ours works with existing natural processes, accelerating them rather than replacing them. Lieutenant Commander Nash watched from the observation deck with Kexley, noting how the Zextal official's body language shifted from skepticism to amazement. This is why I spent 5 years embedding myself in your command structure, he explained to his friend. We needed to understand how you think, how you approach problems. To better exploit our weaknesses, Kexley asked, but her tone was curious rather than accusatory. To better complement your strengths, Nash corrected. Look at the Genesis device. It uses principles from both our species, human adaptability combined with Zextal precision. Back in engineering, Martinez had moved on to the ship's defensive systems. Your phase shift technology is incredible, he acknowledged. But it has a fundamental flaw. It's too perfect. When something works too well, you stop looking for alternatives. He pulled up a holographic display of the Horizon's whole structure. We built our ship with deliberate gaps in its capabilities. Every weakness is also a strength, if you know how to use it properly. Those mechanical locks that stop your boarding party. They're also part of our structural support system and emergency power grid. The Zextal engineers exchanged glances, their outer membranes shifting colors in patterns of realization. One of them, a junior technician, stepped forward. The reactor signature that drew our attention. It was masking something else, wasn't it? Martinez's smile widened. Now you're thinking like a human engineer. Everything on this ship generates a specific energy signature. Layer them properly, and they create a symphony that tells exactly the story you want your enemies, or allies, to hear. A sudden alert echoed through the ship. Admiral Brooks's voice came over the intercom. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're detecting a critical failure in the Zextal orbital station's containment grid. Martinez closed his demonstrations with a snap. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to see why adaptability trumps perfection every time. Computer, initiate Protocol Omega-7. The Horizon's primitive systems sprang to life, each simple component revealing its hidden purpose. What the Zextal had dismissed as an outdated warship transformed into something else entirely, a vessel designed not just for war or research, but for surviving anything the universe could throw at it. Your station's quantum containment field is collapsing, Martins explained as he worked. Modern technology would try to stabilize it with an opposing field, but sometimes. He locked eyes with the Zextal Chief Science Officer. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. As alarms blared and crews rushed to battle stations, the true genius of human engineering was about to prove itself in ways none of the Zextal had imagined possible. The orbital station's quantum containment field wasn't just failing. It was being systematically dismantled by something far older than either human or Zextal technology. Deep within the station's crystalline core, ancient glyphs began to glow with an otherworldly light. Those markings, Mixtel gasped, their sensory appendages trembling. They're from the precursor archives. Admiral Brooks stood on the Horizon's bridge, watching as golden energy tendrils reached out from the station toward both human and Zextal ships. Dr. Reynolds, analysis. The energy signatures match patterns we found in the Genesis device's original inspiration, the precursor ruins on Mars, Reynolds reported, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic displays. This isn't a random failure. The station's core is awakening. Lieutenant Commander Nash rushed onto the bridge, Kexley close behind. Admiral, the Zextal Historical Archives just unlocked themselves. This station, it wasn't built by the Zextal. They built around it, using a precursor power source they thought was dormant. And now it's recognizing new technology in its vicinity, Martinez added from engineering. The Genesis device must have triggered something. These energy patterns, they're trying to communicate. The golden tendrils wrapped around every ship in the sector, but instead of attacking, they began transmitting massive amounts of data. The Horizon's quantum processors struggled to keep up with the flood of information. It's a test, Reynolds announced suddenly, her eyes widening as she decoded the patterns. The precursors left guardians throughout the galaxy, automated systems to judge whether their children had evolved beyond warfare. The Genesis device, it's similar to their own world-shaping technology. Brooks made a quick decision. Martinez, prepare to interface our systems with the station. Dr. Reynolds, load the Genesis device's core programming into the quantum array. Nash, we'll need the Zextal's help. Their crystalline technology is the key to decoding these transmissions. The Zextal High Command watched in amazement as the Horizon transformed once again. Its supposedly primitive systems merged with their advanced technology in ways that should have been impossible. Martinez's simple engineering began translating the ancient data streams into understandable patterns. The station's showing us something, Kexley announced, her neural interface processing the precursor data. These aren't just transmissions, they're memories. The precursors didn't die out. They transcended physical form, leaving these stations to guide their children toward the same evolution. Through the station's crystalline walls, images formed, worlds transformed, species united, technology merged with nature itself. The Genesis device's miniature solar system aligned with the patterns, creating a bridge between past and present. We need to stabilize that power core, Martinez called out. The awakening process is overloading their ancient containment systems. Brooks turned to the Zextal commander. Your crystalline technology can channel the energy. Our Genesis device can give it purpose. Together we can prove ourselves worthy of the precursor's legacy, Nash finished. This is why humanity built the Horizon as we did. Not to fight wars, but to bridge the gap between different approaches to science and evolution. The combined human Zextal operation moved with precision born of newfound understanding. Zextal crystal matrices channeled the ancient energies while human adaptive systems provided the flexibility needed to prevent overload. The Genesis device served as translator, its world-shaping capabilities demonstrating that both species had moved beyond mere destruction. In the heart of the station, where precursor and modern technology merged, a message began to form in every known language. The children have learned to create rather than destroy. The Guardians recognized this evolution. The golden energy tendrils transformed, becoming streams of pure data, scientific knowledge, the precursors had left for those who proved themselves ready. But more importantly, they provided a blueprint for something greater, a future where human ingenuity and Zextal precision could work together to reshape the galaxy itself. Admiral, Reynolds called out, her voice filled with wonder. "You need to see these specifications. The precursors didn't just leave us their knowledge. They left us a mission." The combined control room of the precursor station hummed with activity as human and Zextal crews worked side by side, their differences forgotten in the face of something greater. Admiral Brooks stood before the central holographic display, watching as the ancient knowledge unfolded before them. The precursors didn't abandon the galaxy, Dr. Reynolds explained, her eyes bright with understanding. They seeded it with these stations, waiting for their children to grow up. Every piece of technology we've developed, every breakthrough we've made, they were guideposts leading us here. Lieutenant Commander Nash nodded, standing between his two worlds. The Genesis device wasn't just about terraforming. It was humanity's proof that we learned to create rather than destroy, and the Zextal's crystalline technology. He turned to Kexley, whose neural interface was streaming with newfound knowledge. It was always meant to receive this message. Chief Engineer Martinez's voice came over the comm system. "Admiral, you're going to want to see this. The station's core is reconfiguring itself. It's not just giving us data. It's transforming into something new." The station's crystalline walls pulsed with golden light as ancient machinery awakened fully. The Genesis device's miniature solar system aligned with newly revealed precursor technology, creating a harmonious merge of three civilizations' achievements. "Look at these specifications," Martinez continued, his voice filled with awe. "The precursors left us blueprints for ships that could cross galaxies, technology that could reshape reality itself. But the key was never about raw power, it was about understanding." Fleet Commander Rickstall, who had remained skeptical until now, stepped forward. "Understanding what, exactly?" "That true advancement comes from cooperation, not conquest," Admiral Brooks answered. She gestured to the U.S. horizon, visible through the station's transparent walls. "We built our ship to look like a warship because we knew it was the only way to get your attention. But its real purpose was to prove that humanity had moved beyond our warlike past." The precursor data streams coalesced into a grand design, a network of stations across the galaxy, each waiting for different species to prove themselves ready. The Zextal's precision and humanity's adaptability weren't opposing forces, but complementary approaches that, when combined, unlocked something greater. "We're receiving signals from other sectors," Kexley announced, her neural interface pulsing with activity. "More stations are awakening. Other species, they're reaching the same conclusions we have. The precursors didn't want successors. They wanted partners." Dr. Reynolds worked with Zextal scientists to integrate the Genesis device's protocols with the station's ancient systems. The terraforming technology was just the beginning. With this knowledge, we can restore dead worlds, create new ones, even stabilize dying stars. But only if we work together. Nash watched as former enemies became colleagues, sharing insights and building on each other's ideas. "You know what this means for the sector, Admiral?" he asked with a slight smile. "We'll have to update all those stories about human warships." Brooks nodded, remembering how this all began, with a signal that sent the sector into panic. Let them tell new stories, about how a human warship came not to conquer, but to connect, about how ancient guardians recognized that both our species had finally grown up. The station's transformation completed, its crystalline structure now incorporating both human and Zextal modifications. The Genesis device's principles spread throughout its systems, creating something that had never existed before, a perfect blend of three civilizations' greatest achievements. "Admiral," Martinez called out one final time, "the Horizon systems have finished integrating with the precursor protocols. Well, you should see for yourself." The U.S. Horizon had changed too. No longer just a warship disguised as a research vessel, it had become something more, a bridge between past and future, a symbol of what could be achieved when different species worked together. "Send word to Earth Command and the Zextal High Council," Brooks ordered. "Tell them Operation Genesis was more successful than we could have imagined. The sector that once feared human warships will become the heart of something greater, a future the precursors always knew we could achieve. As the station's lights spread throughout the sector, illuminating the darkness between stars, humanity and the Zextal took their first steps toward a destiny greater than either species had imagined alone.